Oh, yes, my friends. It is finally that time. Training camp opens tomorrow for the 2025-26 New Jersey Devils. I am fired up. Oh, welcome back, Devils fans. It is your host, Ace, here on Running with the Devils, where we are talking New Jersey Devils hockey all year long. Please hit that subscribe button, smash the like, share with a friend. Thank you very much. And friends, we are here. We are here. We are on the eve of training camp opening. Veterans report tomorrow. They will not be on the ice. They do all the, their health tests and whatnot, and they should be on the ice tomorrow's Wednesday. Thursday, exciting nonetheless. I'm sure we'll see a lot of interview snippets and different things with the players come out on social media throughout the day. Exciting time of year. And of course, we are all still waiting with bated breath for the announcement of the contract for Luke Hughes. Now, look, guys, this is a tough one. I would have liked to have seen this taken care of, obviously, way before now. I severely hope this does not come to a holdout situation. I do think they will announce the deal tomorrow. And I just think it's super hardball tactics from both sides. I would be so curious to know, like, if we were able to get real-time updates of what each side was proposing as this whole thing went on. Obviously, we'll never get that, but Tom Fitzgerald looking to lock him down for the max 8 years. Hopefully we see it. Hopefully the cap hit is somewhere between $8.5 and $9 million. I think would be a pretty nice deal for Luke and a pretty good deal for the team as well. But it seems like this was kind of the fate. This was written, if you will. It seemed like it was always going to come down to the wire, as there's no urgency, like, training camp's opening now, and that hopefully pushes it over the line, whether they were haggling over the years or the cap hit, whatever it is. Hopefully tomorrow's the day and he doesn't miss any time on the ice. I'll be very curious to see how this all plays out, as many of you are, but we still wait. There was just a report that came out on TSN. It was nothing new. It just seems like they were talking about, the guy's not signed, and we're talking about it, and they're saying they expect a long-term deal, but we've been expecting a long-term deal for months. But for, everyone that's absolutely killing Fitz over it, I will defend Fitz and say, you guys have to realize he's going up against the power agent in the game. Pat Brisson is no joke, nobody to play with. He represents some of the biggest stars in the game. And the thing you have to realize is, aside from, being a powerful super agent, there's a lot of things that go into these sort of deals, because in the end, this contract will affect other guys' contracts. And so there is a players association. They all want to see guys get paid money, get big contracts, because it just helps them out going forward. And so in that way, I think people don't realize that there's pressure from, other players, other agents, even other players represented by the same agent. It's in his best interest for all of his clients to get the most money possible for Luke. And so here we are, a complete standoff, and we're going to see how this number one priority shakes out. I'm hoping it gets announced tomorrow morning. I doubt it would come out tonight. I guess anything's possible, but I'd imagine at some point tomorrow we'll see the announcement. But if not, and Luke misses time, this would be a real travesty, an absolute travesty, because we obviously don't want to see that. Very reminiscent of the Dawson Mercer thing last year, and I believe the deal either got announced, I think it was it the first day they reported? I forget. It was like right there at the start of camp is when the Mercer deal got announced. And so we'll probably see something very similar. If Luke, in fact, decides to hold out and misses time, I think that would be just absolutely criminal on his behalf, as well as the team. I don't even remember the last time we saw an actual holdout situation. But yeah, we sit here and wait. The Luke watch is alive and well. And we will see how that all goes. Moving on to other topics of interest, there was a very nice article put out today by The Athletic, or the New York Times. Scott Wheeler put out a great article about Shane LaChance and had tons of quotes from his former coaches and things. Really good article. I'm going to drop the link in the chat right now. Check that out. You guys have heard me talking about Shane LaChance for a while. I absolutely love the kid. I'm rooting for him to make the roster at some point. If it's not straight out of camp, hopefully at some point we see him, whether he just pushes someone out of the lineup or in an unfortunate scenario, someone's injured. And I did say if you saw the video about the line combos and things that I put out yesterday, so a couple people made the comment like, oh, he's not a center. And, fine. If he can't be the 4C, then I would like to see him on the fourth line as a winger. So wherever they slot him, I would like to see LaChance in the lineup. But it's going to take probably someone getting dealt or an injury for that to happen. Just because if you do look at the line combinations, as I showed, there's really, those guys are pretty much locked into a spot, in my opinion, most of them. Now, crazier things have happened, but I do think for the most part, the guys that Daily Faceoff has in the line combinations, while I don't know that those are going to be the lines, I think that is pretty much the NHL team as of right now. And so we continue to wait. No Luke. And Shane LaChance, one of the many guys at camp to keep an eye on during the preseason as well. The same goes for me for obviously Lenny Haminaho, another promising Devils prospect looking to make some noise. He had a goal in the Prospects Challenge. Wasn't too visible in some of the other games, but he had a couple chances. But Haminaho is a guy to watch. I'm still very excited about Edwards on defense. He kind of gets forgotten about, I think, amidst all the other guys. And yes, we are completely stacked at D at the moment. But I do think he is a promising prospect who will have a pretty decent NHL career. And that kind of makes you wonder, at any point, do the Devils cash in some of these young defensemen for help up front? For a team that desperately needs help up front, maybe one of those guys is dealt. I don't know, but let me see what you guys are talking about. But I'm super excited to get this season underway. What's going on, Bobby? Husky Unchained, what's going on? Bobby, according to Elliot Friedman, the GOAT, the Devils and Luke are expected to sign a long-term deal at 9.5. A little more than I would ideally like to pay, but in the end, that $9.5 million, even in a year or two from now, could be an insane bargain. It really could be. With the cap going up, these guys are getting paid crazy money. I think Kevin Ball signed for like 5.5, somewhere around there. Maybe it was like 5.35, I forget. But when you start looking at some of the money being thrown around, and with the cap continually going up, in a few years from now, 9.5 for Luke could be a steal. Britt and Emmy, what's going on? Hockey is back, baby. Antonino says this will make or break Fitz. I do agree. It's kind of a big moment in his tenure as New Jersey Devils GM. Obviously, aside from the fact that it's a very good, promising young defenseman who is our franchise player's younger brother, Luke signing long-term at this point would all but guarantee Quinn Hughes coming to the Devils at some point in the very near future, in my opinion. Now, I've said this, we've talked about this a million times as well, but if Luke signs for 8 years, you would think, when Jack's eligible to extend his deal, he will. And Quinn Hughes, at the latest, will come here on July 1st, 2027, when he becomes an unrestricted free agent. Now, there's been tons of speculation and rumors and things that the Devils could trade for him before then. And if that happened, great. But if not, I think July 1, 2027, Quinn Hughes signs as a free agent with the Devils. They will have all three Hughes brothers, and the Devils marketing team dreams will come true, because what a blockbuster story around the sports world, not even just hockey, the entire sports world, that would be for all three Hughes brothers to be in New Jersey. Tasha says 9.5 is 0.5 more than I thought. Yeah, I mean, I wish it was more like 8.5, 8.75, but 9.5 is not terrible. Would have liked it to be a little cheaper, but let's see where it comes in at. SST says L. Hughes will be traded before the season kicks off. Oh, buddy, keep dreaming, buddy. That's clearly not happening, SST. Are you not paying attention? Are you not connecting the dots? The plan is written, and the plan is all three Hughes brothers in New Jersey. I mean, I just don't understand why you don't understand that. Justin Smith, what's going on? Can't wait for hockey. Bobby, after signing Luke, Fitz needs to find a way to get rid of Plot and Casey and sign McTavish and McLeod. Well, I don't think it'd be hard to get rid of Casey. I don't know that you would get something that many would consider fair. I do think Casey has a very good chance of having a very good NHL career as well, whether it's in New Jersey or somewhere else. But his path to the NHL right now on the Devils is sort of blocked, and it's going to take, I think, a couple injuries, maybe at least one injury minimum, I think, for him to have a full-time job with the Devils. I think he's going to be in Utica again. But we will see. I would love McTavish. As far as McLeod goes, you guys, a lot of people have brought this up recently, and I've said my thoughts on this. I just can't see the Devils doing it. I just can't see them, with the small group of people that are going to complain and whine. I think they will avoid that entirely. And at this point, who even knows what McLeod is going to look like in the league? I do think he will get a job somewhere. And a report just came out a couple hours ago, I believe, that the Hurricanes were interested. And obviously, I would hate to see that. The only team I would hate to see McLeod go to more than the Hurricanes would be the Rangers, obviously. But we will see. He might have a deal pretty soon. Tasha, as soon as Fitz said this is my number one priority, I knew it would take a ridiculously long amount of time. Devils win 40 games this year, says Justin. I don't know that that'll be enough, Justin. I'm hoping it's, high 40s. Bobby says, Justin, I think we hit 47, 48. I would like to see that. Tasha, we don't want to repeat Dawson Mercer or Tom Fitzgerald. Michael says, this is all on Luke. F him. I mean, listen, guys, I can't kill a player either. I mean, a good percentage of his career earnings are going to come from this deal. So we have no idea what he was offered. It's easy for people to criticize the player and be like, F him. But if Fitzgerald was like, we're going to give you $7 million for 8 years, like, is that fair to Luke? Is that realistic? You don't know. We don't know what's going on behind closed doors. And so I'll never kill a player for contract stuff unless it comes out where, like, you hear the numbers and you're like, okay, that was a fair deal. Like, you're just whatever. But I don't think that that's the case here, but who knows? We'll probably never know the lead up to it, and we'll just see what the final deal is. But I'm hoping it's like that, 8.8 times 8 would be amazing. Tasha, LaChance has been picking up tons of steam around the league. He was in a THG video today. I'll have to check that out. Shout out to Shannon, the hockey guy, the OG hockey YouTuber. But yeah, LaChance, guys, he's making noise, and I'm rooting for the kid. As you all know, SST LaChance is better than Little Hughes. LaChance stole McLeod's number. SST trade Luke, sign LaChance long term. Oh, boy. Luke is my first priority of the summer. Booze face. What's going on, Metalander? Why are we ignoring the obvious? By requesting 5 years, Luke is telling us he wants us to pay his bills until the brothers can unite in Detroit. They're not going to give us their best until 2030. I can't agree with that, Metalander. I think, and I've said this before, I don't think it necessarily means that they plan on leaving or want to leave, but they want to have the flexibility to do it if things aren't going in a positive direction. And I can't blame them for that whatsoever. If I was Luke Hughes, I would be doing the same shit. And I think anyone with a sibling would do the same. How would you not want to have the chance to kind of control your own destiny alongside your brother in a professional sports league? I mean, you can't blame the kid for trying it or wanting it. And on the flip side, I can't blame Fitzgerald and the Devils for being like, keep dreaming, buddy. There's zero chance we're giving you a 5-year deal and letting you and your brother potentially hit free agency in the same summer. I mean, that would be absolutely maniacal of any GM to do something like that, obviously. I mean, I don't have to go into depth explaining it. That's psychotic. And a lot of people have talked about the whole Red Wings thing in Detroit because they're from that area and blah, 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 and it's their hometown team. I don't know. There could be something to it. I mean, I just don't think that they're dying to be in Michigan and play for the Wings. I could be completely wrong. I just don't think that that's a real thing. Lots of people speculating that, though. Khalil says Nico Hischier didn't add muscles because he posted on Instagram he looked like the same 175 pounds. I don't know, man. Elliot Friedman was kind of obsessed over the gain. And so I have to believe it. It is noticeable. I did see that Nico had posted something, but it looked like a bunch of photos from like throughout the summer. So I don't know which ones you're looking at, but for Elliot Friedman to go on and on about how much bigger Nico is, I have to believe there's something to it, but we're going to see very soon. We will see very soon what all the fuss is about. Tasha says, hopefully the contract gets announced during this live. Oh man, that would be interesting. I don't trying to think if I remember any contracts being announced like at night. SST says, will McDermott play 5 games this season? Man, that's a tough one. It seems like, Keefe wasn't a huge fan of him. And now with all the, I would say, at least on paper, our bottom 6 depth this season is much better than last season. And so, I don't know. I might take the under on the 5 games, SST. Metalander says, why do we want Parisi 2.0 in 2030? I mean, well, what are you suggesting they do, Metalander? Justin says, after Luke Hughes gets sign Markstrom to an extension. I think there's a very good possibility of that. I'm very curious to know behind closed doors what the team has in mind in terms of like a goaltending succession plan. I don't think Jake Allen's going to play all 5 years of the deal that he signed, but I'd imagine he's going to play 2 or 3 of them. And where does that put Markey? Do they want to continue to go with this tandem of aging goaltenders? I mean, I suppose if they look good this year and they hold up, there's no reason not to. But it'll be very interesting to see what becomes of Markey. I'm hoping he gets another year or 2. Hopefully he gets off to a hot start and they're like, let's just keep him here. And they give him a year or 2 deal. I would love to see that. But I also probably wouldn't be shocked if they don't. I don't know why I'm getting that feeling. I feel like they would have done it already. I don't know. That's a wait and see kind of thing. Maybe they want to see what Malik does in Utica. But Malik and Yegorov, I think, are the 2 main goalies in the system who will eventually potentially be a tandem together at some point. I think that could be a very good tandem down the line because, as you all know, the future is so bright. But the right now has to be bright. Tasha says 9.5 is a potential good sign, though, because that could potentially be Fitz throwing some extra money for a long term. So, well, I mean, if it's 9.5, it's got to be the 8 years. Antonino, so to make the Luke money work, would you include Dougie, a first and a second, and Casey for Quinn? Would I include Dougie, a first, a second, and Casey for Quinn? Oof, that's a tough one. For 2 years of Quinn Hughes earlier, and his cap hit's very low for what he brings for the next 2 years. Would I include Dougie, a first, a second, and Casey for Quinn? Antonino, that is a deal that I would green light. I would give the green light, give the thumbs up, as much as it would hurt to lose those pieces. And I love Dougie. I've defended Dougie against everybody. I've talked about Dougie. This team, I believe, is a better team with Dougie than without. But if you're talking about a deal that sends Dougie out to bring Quinn in, and while I'll miss Casey and like him as well, as I just mentioned a couple minutes ago, it doesn't seem like he has a full-time spot with the Devils anytime soon because of the depth on the blue line. And so that deal, Antonino, I would do that. It stings a little bit, but to get Quinn Hughes now at a great cap hit 2 years earlier, I would do that deal. B says if he signs Luke to an 8-year deal, that would be a masterclass. I mean, you're going to get, I don't know that I would call it a masterclass. I would say it's doing what everyone expected you to do and what you should be doing. I mean, most teams in these scenarios are able to sign the player long term. So I can't really, call it a masterclass or sing the praises. Now, if somehow the deal gets announced and it's like 8 million times 8, which I don't think it will be, I think it will be more, but I would call that a masterclass. 8 million times 8 would be a masterclass. But if it's like, a 9.5-ish, that's, it's an okay deal. It's not the best deal in the world, and it's definitely not a masterclass. It's just doing what you're supposed to do. Tasha, SST is such a clown. Says we need to trade Jack and Luke for being constantly injured, then wants Kaprizov. Makes no logical sense. Yeah, I mean, the Kaprizov stuff is absurd. There's negative % chance the Devils are even even inquiring. Robert, what's going on? Old man Rob here. The Luke issue will be what it is. Shane is a good prospect. I'll keep the faith. Still got your gift. Oh, I appreciate that, Robert. I'm going to send you an email. You guys in the comments. Play nice, kids. Play nice. Yasuo Phoenix Luke wants that Kaprizov money. Well, the report that was debunked or at least denied was that Kaprizov turned down an 8-year, $128 million deal, $16 million average annual value. And if that is in fact true, buckle up your seatbelts, kids, because some of these contracts are just going to get insane in the membrane. 16 mil for Kaprizov. Yeah, I mean, if he signs that, even if he signed for $15 million before Connor gets an extension, like at that point, if I'm Connor McDavid, and again, I do think give Connor McDavid more credit for being a team guy. I do think he will leave some of that meat on that bone because I do think he does want the Oilers or whatever other team he potentially looks at playing for. But I think he wants the team around him to be as strong as possible. And so I do not think Connor McDavid is the type of guy that is going to milk a franchise for every red cent he could get. But if we're being real, if Kaprizov demands $16 million or gets $16 million, I would make the argument that Connor McDavid is worth $25 million. I mean, what do we? We're getting close to NBA salaries here. Yeah, so Phoenix, Hughes brothers in the Eastern Conference Finals. Let's go. I would love to see it. My buddy Goody, I kind of think the expectation is for LeChance to be that guy McLeod was, hopefully without the baggage. Different players. But I do see some of the overlapping elements. Obviously, that fiery competitive spirit, physicality, the sandpaper. But I do think Mikey was significantly faster than LeChance. That's his skating and speed is kind of one of the major knocks on him, and ultimately could be one of the things kind of holding him back slightly at the moment. It's something that he has worked on in the summers and is looking to get better at. But I do think, they are somewhat analogous players, but as a center, McLeod really was one of the better depth centers in the league at the time that he, was banished. An unfortunate situation for the Devils to just lose a guy for nothing. Bobby, call me crazy, but I'd rather see Diot on our roster in a few years over Casey. Go ahead, call me crazy. I'm not going to say that's crazy. I liked what Diot brought. He's constantly throwing pucks at the net. Seems to be a pretty smart defenseman from the Prospects Challenge a little bit that we got to see. I'm curious to see what he does in the A. Casey, obviously more of the, slightly undersized puck-moving defenseman. And I do think he could be a big piece in the trade package. I would love to see him stick around, but I just, again, with all the defensemen we have, what is his path to the big club? Yoham says, Nico is built like a professional swimmer. I don't really know. The only professional swimmer I could really picture was Mr. Gold, Michael Phelps. And he was pretty ripped up. Richard, what's going on? I'd prefer to see 8.5 to 8.8. Yeah, that's where I'm at. Average annual value. But if he gets 9.5 for 8, even that would look good moving forward. You'd hope and believe that with the cap going the way it is, if he continues to develop the way we think he will, and especially in a world where Dougie gets dealt, obviously, if that's, if Dougie's not here, then Luke's role becomes much larger. He's the undisputed power play one quarterback, probably play even more minutes, get some big assignments. And he very well could be a 12 million-ish value player in a couple of years from now and be locked up for hopefully a good chunk less. That's the gamble. When you sign these guys long-term, you're kind of playing the gamble game. I'm going to pay you X amount of money, and while it might be a slight overpayment in the short term, you're hoping that in the long term it's a value, just like Jack. And I've talked about this before. Jack's making $8 million. He ended up on that best contracts in the league list, which probably infuriated him and his agent. But at the time Jack got that contract, he wasn't worth the money. That was a calculated gamble by Fitz that paid dividends. It would be an even bigger value deal for the Devils if Jack was able to stay healthy. Even considering his injuries, I would say it's still an amazing contract. And hopefully he could stay healthy and it could be an out-of-this-world contract. Anthony says, if this gets announced, I'm ripping open the goose. Andrew, what's going on? Hockey's back on Sunday. Will Luke Hughes be signed before I get hammered on American whiskey? I guess we will see. Oh, man, if Luke isn't signed before the first preseason game, then I'm going to say there's officially trouble in paradise. Not signing before the first preseason game would be an atrocity. John Woodson, what's up? Luke wanting to sign here because he thinks we can't compete, even though him and his brother are the reason we won't compete. Oh, Woodson. I mean, there's so many layers to this, but players aren't stupid. I've talked about this. Like, players know what's up. And if you think you're not in the best place or position to win a cup, I mean, why would you stick around? David, Kaprizov turned down 8 times $16 million extension, NHL record. Luke's agent feeding off this news. Cap going up means don't lock for too little. Record unused cap space league wide right now. Yeah, when are they going to start spending it? I just want to see. Yeah. Yo, Holmes says Luke under 10 is just fine. Cap only going up. Khalil, hopefully Luke is signed tomorrow because if he's not, his points production going down because of missing training camp and conditioning. I mean, I'm not going to, missing a couple days is not the end of the world. It's not ideal. Obviously not ideal, but it's definitely not the end of the world. Now, I will say, if you're talking about still not signed before the preseason game on Sunday, I mean, that's a little. Now we're getting into kind of dicey territory. Tasha said, I do Dougie a first, a second, and Casey for Quinn in a heartbeat. Yo, Holmes says absolutely no to that trade. I think I would have to do it, Yo, Holmes. I think you make that trade. Tasha, Dougie Hamilton currently makes more money than Quinn Hughes. Yeah. Woodson, Casey is better than Luke for a third of the price. We already have Nemitz and the Big Russian as our shutdown guys. See you later, Luke. Woodson, do you really think Casey is better than Luke? I mean, like, you really believe that? NJ Devil's Blood. Will be interesting to see what hockey schemes the new assistant coach brings to this team and how long it will take the guys to execute them. Yeah, I'm curious to see if there's any like major fundamental changes. I don't think it'll be anything earth-shattering, but former players, current players have sung Shaw's praises, and maybe he'll be able to flip some levers to get some of these guys performing at a higher level. David Chime says that's a fine trade. I'd do it too. This is to go back to the Nut House kid. The adults are talking. Khalil, when we sign Cotter this coming offseason, will it be a 4 deal like the Connor Brown deal? Oh, I have no idea. The whole Cotter's whole situation will be an interesting one as well. I think obviously that's going to depend a lot on what he does this season. I think that's going to be a massive factor in the type of deal that he gets after this year. I love Cotter, though. You guys know that. Woodson says, Luke, 5x5. Enjoy what you're worth and then hit the road. Oh, 5x5? No way. I will say this. It's fun. So now that you throw that out there, Woodson, if he was going to sign that deal versus like haggling for the long-term deal, I as much as it is crazy, I might do it. I would say, you know what? You want to leave? Screw it. Because $5 million is super cheap, right? I mean, that's low. And then you just say, if you don't want to be here at the end, so long. I mean, it's unfortunate, and they would have to get traded instead of losing them for nothing. But $5 million, but I just can't see that being realistic either. Justin Smith, smash that like button. Thanks, Justin. Appreciate you. Hit the like for your boy. Bobby says, I have a feeling SST is a Rangers fan. Snow says, Luke doesn't owe us anything. You can't blame him for looking out for himself. And that's the one thing. When I was younger, I used to be like, F this guy and that guy when they would leave, and I would get very upset and angry at players. But like in the end, this is their livelihoods. A lot of them have, in the grand scheme of their lives, rather short careers, and they have to make as much money as they can. And so, for anyone sitting out there bashing players for stuff like this, if another company in whatever profession or industry you work in came along and was like, we're going to pay you, I don't know, I'm going to use a fake number, but we're going to pay you 30% more than your current employer, I'm pretty sure all of you would be like saying bye to your coworkers and say, yeah, it was nice working with you, nice knowing you, and now you're off for a better situation for yourself. And so I completely agree, Snow, that people just get a little too, I don't know, detached and unrealistic from what this really is. This is a business. Justin Smith says Palat, Hamilton, and Dawes for Quinn Hughes. That's super optimistic, Justin. The Canucks would never take that deal. Michael says the problem with Fitz is he has no direction. Signs McDermott that doesn't play him. Has Dawes but signs Allen. Has Nemitz, Casey, and Salayev. And signed Kobe to a 4-year deal. Fitz blocks everybody. I mean, I think that's a fair point, but you cannot. I love the McDermott signing. You guys all know me. Heavier, edgier, more violent. That man is a franchise legend for his role in the 5-on-5 melee against the Rangers. And Rempe finally getting some of his overdue medicine, but Fitz isn't making the lineup every day. I think that's more driven by Sheldon Keefe. And so, you know, it is what it is. In terms of the goalie situation, it is very interesting. I personally did not anticipate Jake Allen signing that friendly of a that team friendly of a deal. $1.8 million times 5 years. Like, there was reports that teams are going to pay him $4 and $5 million. I had come to the conclusion that we just couldn't afford him, and we were going to roll with Markey and Dawes, as many of you did. And then that deal gets announced, complete shock to everybody, and now here we are trying to figure out the Dawes situation. In terms of the defenseman, I think you want the depth. I mean, now Salayev, I think, will probably at least be in camp next year and maybe in the AHL. Probably in the AHL, I would think, for at least the season. He's still super young. But you're talking about really with Kovacevic starting the season on LTIR, or whether it's LTIR or just not playing. Either way, not in the lineup. Casey's going to have Nemitz is most likely going to have the spot, I believe, and Casey's kind of the odd man out. I mean, one extra defenseman, or at least one very good extra defenseman as your seventh D. I like having the blue line depth, obviously. If your blue line, you guys start going down, you don't want to have to get, patchwork pieces thrown in there with guys who aren't ready. Really don't want to see the defense take any steps backwards, because it was one of our strong points last season. There cannot be any regression there. The defense and goaltending should be solid. Woodson says, we aren't getting Quinn until Dougie and Plot are gone and no one wants them. SST Bobby, what did you do so bad at your birth? Your mother called you Bobby. What? David, Elliot Friedman thinks another team sent smoke signals they would do more than 16x8 when he goes free agent. Says the 8x16 being turned down is 100% real. Well, if that's the case, I do hope Guerin ships his ass. Husky Unchained, I'm president of the Casey fan club, dying to see what he can do over a full season. Hate to see the kid traded and feel like it would be a mistake. Yeah, but I mean, I think a lot of that depends on what you get back, right? Like, if he was part of a deal that brought in a nice piece up front, the top six winger, I do think it would make it a little easier. David, Fitt's best contract negotiation was Brad. Brad had bargaining power, steal of a sign. Yeah, Brad are on a team-friendly deal as well. But, in the end, if we don't capitalize and make a deep run during any of these seasons with all these guys on team-friendly deals, then it was all for naught. It was all for nothing, because if you don't win, then who gives a shit? The time to win is now. Win now. Woodson says Siegs could have been offloaded. Kovacevic was an unnecessary signing. What a putz. I like Kovacevic, though. I like him. Robbie's bench toss. So the Epstein files really going to be released before Luke gets his new deal crazy. Bobby, with Salayev coming over next year, do you think the plan is to have him replace Dylan when his contract is up? Well, I mean, as these guys age out, Dylan being one of them, what does he have, 2 years left? I'd imagine that, that Salayev is one of those guys that will be waiting in the wings. SST says, after Little Hughes gets signed, Casey has no future on the Devils. My buddy Goody, I still remember when McLeod fought Nick Delorier and how he battled. Seemed like Nick was kind of shocked at his compete. I don't remember that. What year was that? Antonino refreshing Twitter like a junkie right now. Robbie's bench boss. Today is the deadline for an 8-year deal, right? 9/16, then it drops to 7 years max with the new CBA rule starting early. I'm not positive on that. That's interesting. Is that today? Thanks, David. Hit the like for your boy. What's going on, Amagi? My buddy Goody says, I'm convinced there are people that make comments just to see he's getting annoyed. Maybe. Woodson, go to bed. Woodson, yes, Casey is way more dynamic offensively. In case y'all haven't noticed, we need offense. We have plenty of shutdown D-men. Are you worried about him in the D zone at all, Woodson? Or are you just like, let him run free? I do think offensively, he might be better, but he's a lot smaller. Luke really is good at closing the distance on people with his speed and that long arm and stick of his. In terms of just like shooting and stick handling and stuff, like Casey really is like one of the nastiest defensemen I've seen in quite some time. And you saw him throw some moves on in that first Prospects Challenge game as well. SST Sprong with a hat trick today in the KHL just tells you what to expect from Gritsuk. Oh no. The kiss of death. The kiss of death. Woodson says 5x5 for Luke allows a spare change to spend on offense to win now. I agree. If he would sign that low for 5 years, I would do it and deal with the, oh, they're going to leave. I would say screw it. At that point, we got to win in the next 5 years. But I don't even think, would he even sign a deal like that? 5 years at $5 million? It just seems super low. James, what's going on? I really hope LaChance has a great training camp and gets some fourth line minutes. That kid plays with some grit that we really need. Completely agree. Big boy, 6'5", 220-ish or whatever it is. Plays his ass off, and how can you not root for a kid like that? How can you not root for a kid like that? I am pumped to see what he does in the preseason against NHL guys because he's been passing all the earlier tests. He looked good at development camp. He looked great in the Prospects Challenge, and now the competition goes up another level. Winston says Salayev replaced Dylan. Casey replaces Dougie. SST, every one of you would scream joy if Luke gets traded for Brady or Tage. But I just don't understand why, SST, you constantly need to live in a fantasy world. You know the team is not doing this. Like, you have to know that. Like, I hope that you know that. Now, you talking about your urges and desires and things is a different story. But to talk about it in the context of it being remotely realistic or possible is asinine. It really is. Like, not only are they not going to trade Luke, they're positioning themselves to get Quinn as well. I just don't understand what you don't understand about this. I just think it's just trolling, maybe. Backhanded Devil, what up? What's up? What's up? Totally forgot about that Allen deal. Shrewd move. Yeah, who saw that coming? $1.8 million times 5. I mean, it kind of made the decision pretty easy, right? It's like, okay, no one thought that was a possibility. Jake is back. What a legend. I saw him at an event recently, and I told him he was a legend for that deal. He cracked a smile. James, if Luke wants a short-term bridge deal to align with his brother, I think he'll have to sacrifice money for the term he wants, right? Yeah, but that seems like a lot of money. 5x5? I mean, I don't know. Tasha says, Ace, don't forget about Chalowski, a key point of our depth. I think for me personally, even though he has the experience on the realistic depth chart, if it was up to me, I'd probably rather see Edwards over him. Yo, Holmes says, Allen being buddies with Brodeur sure paid off. Resting Guitar Face, what's going on? Now that official stuff is starting, what's the practicality of Luke not having signed yet? Like, can he not participate in things? I'm pretty sure the team would allow him to do anything, but just players don't do that because they're risking injury and stuff. And so if they don't have a contract, they don't show up to work. That's just the name of the game. It's how it goes. Tasha says, honestly, wouldn't trade Luke for Tage or Brady because we wouldn't have a replacement. Woodson said, I would trade Luke for Tage and make Dano suit back up. I don't care. We need offense. James, Nico needs to bring Jack to the gym. Nico think that he's tired of being pushed around. Khalil, if Mercer gets traded, it's going to another generation player that can play 84 games a season. Bobby Brightside says Luke's going to hit 70, 80 points this year. That would be phenomenal. Woodson, we have a top 6 that will be lucky to crack the top half of the league in scoring. Are you talking about in terms of top 6 scoring, Woodson? I'm not so sure about that. Stickfigs Ace, we formally demand that you take your eyes off of this YouTube gig, do your damn job as unofficial GM of the Devils, and get that boy Luke Hughes signed. If it was up to me, I would have drew a line in the sand a long time ago. But you're dealing with power agents, guys. Like, this is not an easy thing to get done. Woodson, if we were going to miss the playoffs, I at least want to know to knock a few teeth out maybe in the meantime. McLeod versus Delory. I'm going to have to look that one up. SST Devils will finish bottom half in scoring this season. I think they'll kind of be right in the middle of the pack. but I do think they will be at the top of the list in, goals against. I think the goals against for this team will be low. Casey is very smooth. I like Seamus Casey. I really do. It just, he's got a lot of competition and guys in front of him. Stickfig says, the channel jester, I love making comments that have an 80% chance of making Ace giggle and 15% chance of slightly annoying him. Oh, Stickfigs, you can't annoy me. Look at what we got in here, my man. Woodson, let Casey run free like an annoying ant. What do we have to lose? I mean, getting goals scored against us obviously is the worry, but you have no reservations about a D-core Woodson that has both Nemitz and Casey in it playing full time. Richard says, SST, what color is the sky in your world? Oh, boy. Vincent, Ace, let me buy you a beer at Reds at the home opener. How do we feel about our boys heading to the Olympics? I guess that's Olympics in relation to injury, concern, and rest. I love the Olympics. I've talked about this forever. I love best on best international hockey, Vincent. And so for me, the juice is always worth the squeeze. You got to let them play, in my opinion. I think it's great marketing for the league. The players love it, representing their country, putting on the sweater, their home country with the flag and the colors. I think it's awesome for the game. I think it's awesome for the players and fans. I'm super jacked for the Olympics in February. Hopefully we have at least, for USA, it realistically could be only Jack with an outside chance for Luke or Pesci. All three would be phenomenal, but I think there's just a lot of competition on the blue line for USA. But it should be a great tournament. The best in the world, or most of the best in the world, right? I guess Russia's still not eligible, and so that kind of sucks. But Jack to the Olympics. Brader and Markey will be on Team Sweden. We might have a couple other guys on teams. Should be a great tournament. Man, SST's really gotten under some of your skins tonight. Tasha, LOL, I forgot about that free agency live, legendary, longest live ever, and everyone was just cracking jokes about Angus Crookshank with the remaining brain cells. Oh, man. Holmes Chalowski blows was a brutal move. If I was Casey, I'd be peeved. I still would think that on the organizational depth chart, Casey's certainly above him. That's more of a probably, Utica move / super insurance for injuries. Metalander, maybe I'm old school, but used to want what was best for our team, not shill for the millionaire players. Sorry. Metalander, I'm not shilling for anybody. I want what's best for the team too. But if I'm being realistic, I would be the biggest hypocrite jerk off on the planet if I sat here and was like, screw Luke Hughes. He's not signing with the Devils and he's greedy and all this stuff. I would be a hypocrite because if I was in his position, I would be doing the same exact thing. The same exact thing. I would want a 5-year deal and I would want the ability to go somewhere else with my brother if that's what we wanted to do. And I would want a fair deal. Not saying I would demand the most money possible, but I'm not going to sign a deal that I feel was a ripoff. And so I'm not shilling for anyone. I'm just keeping it completely honest and real. And if I was in his position, I would be doing the same thing. And many of you would as well. That doesn't mean that I don't want what's best for the team. Obviously, I do. I hope it comes out that he signed a $7 million deal for 8 years. It would be phenomenal. But I can't sit here with a straight face and tell you Luke Hughes is the devil and this and that and the other thing because the deal's not done yet. I'm sorry. I just can't do that. I think that would be completely fugazi, and I'm not a fugazi person. Richard says, I hope and don't think a 5-year is going to happen, but a $5 million, no way. 6, 7. If that did happen, then Quinn signs for 3 years only in the triumph. I don't even know how to say this word. Triumvirate is all gone in 30 and would have all the leverage. Woodson, I've never seen a fan base so excited for a half a point D-man who's been completely scared away from playing offense. Some of you guys are funny, man. Timothy says, how many games does Jack play this year before he gets hurt? Hopefully he doesn't get hurt at all and he plays 82. Meyer Militia. Hello from Twitter X, your favorite website on the internet. Hello to you, and it certainly is not my favorite website on the internet. It's a necessary evil, but in terms of a platform, it's just, I think, a complete cesspool. I mean, I think society at this point is a cesspool, honestly. And so all these platforms are just kind of a reflection of the sad society that we live in. But what a world, man. What a crazy world and time we live in right now. Woodson says, Jack out by New Year's, easy money. What a jinx. What a jinx. Tasha, not even trying to think about Olympic injuries, just praying that this guy fished out from the MLB really helps. I think that's what the trainer or whatever from the Mariners, I believe. Jake, if you don't already want Fitz gone, what would he have to do to put the icing on the cake to make you want him out of NJ? I'm not a Fitz fan, guy. I don't know where you got that from, Jake. Personally, I was over Fitz after the 23-24 season. Me personally. I just, I do think he gets a lot of unfair criticism for certain things, but I think he certainly gets a ton of criticism that is completely warranted. And when you look at some of the horrific draft misses and some of these things, they're completely warranted. But for me, the last straw was 23-24 when the team was drowning slowly because of absolutely atrocious goaltending, and the entire planet knew it. And he sat back and hoped and wished that it was going to fix itself and did nothing until deadline day, and then got Kakinen and Allen on deadline day when it was too late. I mean, to me, that was just an egregious crime that should have cost him his job, in my opinion. That is a season of a precious core flushed down the toilet. The season after setting a franchise record with 112 points, beating the Rangers in a beautiful 7-game series in the first round, to then miss the playoffs was inexcusable. And for me, that would have been the employment death sentence. And so I'm not looking for any icing on the cake. For me personally, the icing has been on that cake, Jake, and that was the 23-24 goaltending debacle. True Patriot says, has Jack got any bigger, any muscle? Not that I could see. I mean, maybe I'm wrong. I haven't seen any photos where he looked visibly different. SST said it's all nice and everything, but the Devils season can be over within the first 10 games of the season with that schedule. It obviously is a brutal month of October, but I do not think that they're going to fall apart. I mean, that would be atrocious. I think they're going to be competitive. And I think as long as they stay, right around 500 or a hair over for the month of October, I think everything will be fine. It'd be amazing that if they just kind of rise above and answer all these challenges early. It is crazy. Our first 2 home games against the Stanley Cup finalists. Like, wow. Thank you, schedule makers. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for this beautiful schedule you bestowed upon us, where we start the season on a 3-game road trip, and then it's like, oh yeah, home opener against the Panthers, and then the next game against the Oilers. Like, wow. Yeah, it's a brutal October for sure. Bloody October. But hopefully they come out of the gates hot. We're gonna need to get some points early here. True Patriot, someone else talked about this. Devils need to consider bringing Mikey back, but probably will not. I just can't see it no matter what. Just can't see it. Canes suck. Tasha, not even sure if we would have space for McLeod anyways. I'm just scanning here. No, I know what the word means. I just can't pronounce it. Louis says, Woodson and SST live in a reality of their own. Stick figs. People like to fantasize that if they're in the NHL, they'd both be the next Connor McDavid and a benevolent saint that takes league minimum for the hometown. Yeah, I just, I had that kind of mentality and outlook when I was a kid. When I was like, 12, 13, 14, I'm like, oh, this guy left and this guy, blah, blah, blah. And then it's like, as I got a little bit older, I'm like, this is not that I didn't know it when I was younger, but, you look at things differently. You have a different perspective as you get older. And I'm like, they have 10, some of them less, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, if you're super lucky, years to make a lifetime's worth of money that hopefully could, provide you with generational wealth in some cases. And for people just to be like, oh, screw this guy because he didn't sign, I think that's a kind of phony thing for me. I'm not a phony. I want what's best for the Devils. But if I'm being realistic, I understand what these young kids are thinking and what's going on in their heads. And in the end, he's like, yo, I want to be set for life, and not to say that he wouldn't be set even at making $5 million a year, but everyone's got their best interest on the forefront, and I can't blame them for it. I would do the same exact thing. David Chime says the hockey guy did a math model and had us in first place. Take it for what it's worth. It's not worth much, but I would love for the Devils to win the division. Woodson says Jack is 160 soaking wet. It's common sense. He's he might be around that. What do they list him at? Actually, I'm curious. I have to imagine he's listed at more than that. He's listed at 175. Yeah, I don't believe it, but SST, if LaChance, Brown, and Cotter score 15 goals each, the Devils have a chance. Have a chance to do what? 45 goals out of those three guys. I don't know if LaChance is going to be on the opening day roster, but if he is, 15 goals would be beautiful. Woods in the bottom six is going to have to go off. I completely agree. Last year it was just drought season. We'd be sitting here like, do something. On the days where the big guns got shut down, we would just sit there and be like, well, the top dogs aren't getting it done tonight. We're cooked. We're cooked because no one else is bringing anything. And that can't be the case this year, obviously. The bottom six has to step up, has to produce. How can you think we'll be in the middle of the pack in scoring? Our top six is extremely dynamic. I would say our top four is pretty dynamic. We don't have a true top six, but let me think. Nico, Jack, Timo, Bratter. Yeah, can we get like 140-ish goals out of those four, like 35 goal average? I think that would be nice. Like 140 goals out of those four guys total. Woodson says Gritsuk might have to be the next coming of Kovalchuk. Oh, well, I know that that's not happening, Woodson. I do think there's some people that think that, though. And it is crazy. I would love to see it happen, but I just can't assume that Gritsuk is going to come here and dominate like so many other people are. I think it's psychotic. There's people like, oh, yeah, Gritsuk's going to be in the top six. Like, based on what? I hope he is. But the kid hasn't played a game in the league, and you're putting him in the top six already? My God. I would love to see him play there and for it to work out and for him to dominate, but I do think a lot of people are just, I don't know what it is, just overly optimistic. Backhanded Devil, the bar is definitely lower going into this season compared to last. We were pumped then. I'm still pumped backhanded just because, and I hate to kind of not necessarily glorify it, but the reality is if this team stays healthy, they have a chance to do some damage. That's a huge if. And obviously I wouldn't want one of our main improvements from last season to this season is counting on health. But I think that's kind of what Fitz is doing. If they stay healthy, I do think they are capable of going on a little run. I really do. But that requires actually staying healthy. And we all know in the past couple of years, it has been anything but health. It's been the complete opposite. Stick Figs, even if the Devils went 0-10 in the first 10, throwing the season away, some Fitzgerald mindset. Well, if we went 0-10, I'd have a drinking problem for sure. That would be pretty much lights out on the season. I can't see it happening. Woodson says, we are downers when we are down. What a concept. Yeah, it is. What a concept indeed. SST says, I really think Gritsuk will end up eventually in the AHL and LaChance takes his spot. I don't think so. I think at this point, especially when it came out that Gritsuk has that clause in his contract that he essentially only would want to play in the AHL for a certain amount of time. He has an out clause. So I don't know. I think they said it was a couple months where he's like willing to go to the AHL for a couple months, but he doesn't want to play a whole season down there. And he has an out clause to return to the KHL. I don't think the team would want to risk that happening. Now, obviously, if he comes out and he's a complete bust and he sucks, then they won't care if they don't think there's any hope for him. And again, I don't know how you would, I just can't see him being that bad where they write him off entirely. And so for that reason, I think with that clause in there, that's going to definitely keep him in an NHL spot. I wonder if Carter Hart will go to Edmonton. I could see that. supposedly maybe the Flyers reached out. I saw a report that like his agent said he wanted a fresh start or something. Justin Smith, Devils to the Eastern Conference Finals. Would love to see it. For me, it's Eastern Conference Finals or bust. Obviously, I want to win the cup, but I think making the conference finals is the first step in the right direction. And I do think it is somewhat possible for it to happen this year. Again, it would take a lot of things to go right, but it's not the ludicrous notion that some people believe it is. I do think this team is kind of, and they could also be bounced in the first round against the Canes, like some other people said as well. You never know what's going to happen, but I don't think asking or expecting the team to win 2 rounds is ridiculous. I really don't. Tasha, honestly, if we lose the first game against Carolina, I can't say that it won't make it break out whole season. Whenever I see clips of the last series, I get war flashbacks. Man, that game 5 was just brutal. To blow that lead, I mean, oh man, I was getting pumped for game 6 back at the Rock. Like I was envisioning myself on Championship Plaza drinking those cold beers, going into the game and whipping my rally towel and losing my voice. And then it all just fell apart. That was just a tragic loss. Devil Heaven, what's up? Hey, Ace, what's new, brother? Hello, Devils fans. Not too much, man. We're just waiting for tomorrow when the excitement begins. Woodson says Devils versus Panthers in the playoffs would be a bloodbath for the ages. Oof. Man, a Devils-Panthers playoff series would certainly be interesting. Devil Heaven, Ace, the Devil's Den is looking good there, Rubberneck. It's a dump right now. I'm in rubble. I'm still it'll definitely be done at the latest. At the latest, it'll be done before puck drop of the regular season. I'd wanted it to be done, but I keep finding stuff, and I've been looking through so much stuff, and I have some pause because now I'm like, I explained, I don't want to put stuff up and have to change it or make extra holes in the wall and all that stuff. And so I'm really trying to be thoughtful about this before I finish it up. And as I dig through stuff and find new stuff, I'm like, oh, I forgot about this. I forgot about that. Hopefully one day I am able to get that Devils Museum built somewhere, guys. If there's any wealthy Devils fans out there that are interested in financing a Devils Museum, holler at your boy. I got a lot of ideas, but it's going to take some capital for them to come to fruition, but it would be the greatest thing ever and people would freak out. Jack says players take less. Why? So billionaire owners make more? Give your head a shake. Michael, I don't think they should play for free, but they also need to allow the team to address other needs. Do you want to win a cup or what? Yeah, it makes sense. Jack said players should try and squeeze every last cent they can from these teams. But on the flip side to that, Jack, is that you aren't leaving the team in the best position to add pieces, right? Because this is a salary cap situation, squeezing the team for every cent, you're not going to have the best supporting cast. And I do think, like I said earlier, I think a guy like Connor McDavid certainly realizes that. And I do think I do believe he ultimately re-signs with Edmonton. I think some people are going to be surprised at, it's not going to be like the, most team-friendly deal in the history of sports, but I do think it will be a good amount less than what everyone would assume it will be, because I do think it is very important for him to win. He is getting older. He's almost 30. And careers go by quick. And it would be a damn shame if Connor McDavid retires without a Stanley Cup. I mean, wow, it'd be brutal. My buddy Goody Ace, I agree with you about the team needing to go on a deeper postseason run after the magical season, but even Jack thinks the team is still not really there yet. He said there are teams that are closer. When did he say that? Devil Heaven, Lamico might be a silent assassin. Oh, man. If we're placing our hopes and dreams on Juho Lamico, we were doomed before it even started. Because, I mean, come on. Lamico? Listen, I'm all for anybody. Yeah, production in unexpected places. I root for the logo on the front. I don't care who it is. But I have to be, realistic, and I'm not going to predict or expect that to be the case, but if Lamico somehow ends up on the team and tears it up, would be amazing. I don't care who it is. I just want this team to do well, and I want them to go on a deep run. And I feel bad for all of you guys who are newer fans that really have not seen any real success. For some of you guys, the highlight of your fandom is probably beating the Rangers in that first round in 22-23. I mean, my God. I'm skimming the comments here. Yeah, some of you guys are ridiculous. Devlin says we got options for the top 6. Completely agree there as well. We have the top 4. I am rooting for my man Dawson Mercer to take a firm hold on a top 6 spot. He's had chances in the past. They kind of slipped through his fingers at times. I'm curious to see if he comes into camp a little bit bigger. Fitz talked about at the end of last season that, you know, it wasn't a recommendation like that they basically mandated Mercer put on some size, and I'm hoping that he did do that and that it serves him well coming into camp in the preseason. And I would love to see him light it up in the top 6, whether that's with Jack and Bratter or Nico and Timo. Mercer in the top 6 and being a productive everyday top 6 player would be great. I would love to see it. Jack says billionaire owners and the players should take less hate the game. It's the player. The freaking German. Why is Boozeface signing a contract at the last moment? I mean, listen, this is big business, man. He's up against a super agent who knows what he's doing. I feel like it was always inevitable that this was going to be a standoff. This is just gamesmanship from both sides. And now they know camp is opening. Who's going to flinch first? Kovalchuk was twice the size of Gritsuk. Man, for the people that still hate on Kovalchuk, like, listen, I was furious that he left and it sucked and blah, blah, blah. But you're lying to yourself and others if you're going to tell me the Kovalchuk era was not electric. That man was electric. Oh, my God, I freaked out. Me and Steve the Maniac freaked out when that trade got announced. I think we celebrated at McDonald's. It was like surreal. A top 10-ish offensive player in the league in his prime or close to his prime at the time. And Lou went out there and got him. Oh, my God. What a day when we found out Ilya Kovalchuk was coming to New Jersey. Loved me some Covey, man. Wow. What an era. What an era. Woodson says Gritsuk is twice the size of Jack. Ryan, why does Jack and Timo never click together on a line? I swear Jack doesn't like Timo. I don't think it has anything to do with that. Just for whatever reason, their styles don't mesh great. I'm not opposed to trying to see it again, though. I'm down to experiment. Like, I think they should leave no stone unturned. Like, try out everything. But it does seem at this juncture that you will see the pairs stay together. I just don't see Jack and Bratter being broken up and Nico and Timo. Those kind of seem like fixtures. And then the third guy on each line could kind of be a rotating door until someone, you know, like I said, just claims the spot and seizes the opportunity. But I'm not opposed to seeing some different looks. I'd be very curious who, I guess, in camp, who starts out on the top 2 lines with those 2 pairings. Maybe they start out with Mercer in a top 6 spot, or it could be maybe Palat and Nason like Daily Faceoff had predicted. Maybe you see Dodonov. You know, who knows? I'm very curious to see on Thursday when they hit the ice what those combos are going to be. Roman Czechmonic, Sprong is a top-tier AHL, KHL scorer. He has talent, just not NHL talent. We knew this for years before Fitch traded for him. Oh, don't get me started. Trade Luke for Tom Wilson. I love Tom Wilson. How could you not? Pribble says, name me one player who's a build like Jack Hughes and had a long career. I'm sure there's some. Bobby says, Canes are looking at Hart and McLeod. If they get them both, that's bad news Bears. Well, anytime a division foe improves, and then on top of that, with one of your former players, it kind of sucks, obviously. Woodson says Luke could become Cale Makar. I think he's being facetious there. I don't think anyone's becoming Cale Makar. I mean, Makar is ridiculous, but would like to see him just continue to get better, and I think we will in both zones as he gets more comfortable in this league. He's still only played what? Like, I think, let's see, how many games does he have? It's under it's got to be like 150-ish games. Not counting playoffs, regular season. Yeah, 155 games played. I mean, especially for a defenseman, that's still fairly inexperienced. For people like talking smack, the kid just turned 22. I mean, Jeter Toker, thank you for the super, sir. Hughes bros want to be Rangers according to Biz. I wasn't even going to bring this up. I think it's just complete trolling. Especially, I think he was trolling Pasha, the resident Devils fan on the show. But thank you for the super, Jeter. I can't see that being true. I think that was completely fabricated. I saw the graphic on Chicklets. I didn't even bother to. Well, let me just look at it more in depth. I saw it, and I saw people reacting to it, but to me, it just seemed like complete clickbait and something to just kind of piss off Pasha because Biz likes doing that. Yeah, I think this was just complete off-season ridiculousness, clickbait. I lost my spot again. Cleo, when Luke Hughes gets signed, when are they going to make a Luke and Jack bobblehead? Well, another company did make a dual bobblehead, I believe. It would be cool if the Devils did one for a giveaway. I'm still waiting to see when that promotional schedule gets announced by the Devils. I'd imagine it'll be soon. And I'm assuming we'll be disappointed, but it is what it is. Hopefully we get at least a couple bobbleheads this year. James says the Devil's Den is a work in progress. Yeah, it is. Woodson says the only reason people want Mikey is because Jack hasn't won a faceoff since age 10. Oh, God. Metalander, RP, Eddie Jockman. We're down 2 goalies. Former Rangers retired number Rangers legend Eddie Jockman, rest in peace. I think that was yesterday or today. My days are blending together. Zom Booze. Fitz should put a stipulation if Luke or Jack doesn't play more than 72 games, they have to play another year in Jersey. I mean, it's an interesting idea, but obviously it's not. That's not allowed. Woodson said, I like that, but Fitz is as soft, if not softer, than our players. David says, Bordelot is my Devil's dark horse. Dude can fly. Yeah, I mean, listen, there's a bunch of guys I feel like in that bottom 6 hopeful category. And again, with injuries, who knows who we'll see throughout the year. But I do like, the guys like Bordelot and some of the younger kids like LaChance and Haminaho. I think those are way better bottom 6 options to have at our disposal than what we saw last year with, and no disrespect to these guys, but some of the bottom 6 guys and I think some of them didn't even get a fair shake if I'm being honest, but like the Hallinans and my mind's blank right now, but some of the other guys we called up from Utica for a game or two. I do think we do have some better depth for the bottom 6 for sure. Stickfig, shout out to the fellow Youngins, whose highlight was the 22-23 season where we set the franchise record in points before beating the Rangers in that beautiful 7-game series. Yeah, it really was. It really, really was. John Woodson, Mercer just needs to score 20-25, the dirty goal around the front of the net type guy. Would love to see it. Can he return to that 22-23 form? Can we get a 50-plus point season out of Mercer? I think that would go a long way. True Patriot, I would like to see one more big signing at the top. Like the Brown signing, Dodonov is a solid move for Gritsuk to get comfortable. I'm excited to see Gritsuk. Yeah, obviously Dodonov, of his fellow countryman, another Russian to kind of help ease him into life in North America and, in a new country, new surroundings, all of that stuff. I don't think does anyone remember? I don't think Gritsuk, is he? He's not fluent in English, I don't think. So having a built-in translator is nice as well. Richard, the unexpected contributor is going to be Palat. His stock will go up and then be moved to the deadline. Yeah, call me nuts, but hurt a player's pride and they respond. Well, that certainly would be a much welcome plot twist if Palat just goes off. True Patriot Covey was a highlight for the Devils. Oh, man, I'm going to watch some Covey highlights when I get off here later on the Devils. Devil Heaven 77, Covey was more dangerous than Ovi was, just longer career. Richard, Kovalchuk, greatest shootout player I've ever seen. He was automatic. Tasha, Kovalchuk is such a wild dude. All those speeding tickets. Yeah, I heard about that. Timo took the last of the M-Lounge sushi before Jack could get it. Devil Heaven, Ace, how about some smart lights in the back? Change color. No, I have some red lights. I wouldn't want any other colors. The old studio setup kind of had that little red glow behind me. I think I did like that. Well, Covey signed, was it a 15-year deal that the league penalized us for? Let me see. I forget. It was a 17-year. All right. So it was a 15-year. I was right. It was a 15-year deal. And then the NHL approved it, but penalized us for it. I mean, it's so insane. Yeah, we tried to do 17 years at first. Lou tried to put through a 17-year deal, and they were like, no. And then they put the 15-year through, and then we got penalized. I mean, it's just complete bullshit. Tons of other teams have done similar things, but for whatever reason, they decided to slap the Devils for it. Completely ridiculous. James, what happens if Luke and Fitz can't come to an agreement? Then Luke is a holdout, and he sits. I mean, what a horrible, horrible situation that would be if he misses preseason or any. I mean, man. David Chimes, thank you for the super. Rags name JT Miller, captain. Quinn not going there. Was I can't keep track of the soap opera stories that came out of that, but did Quinn have a problem with Miller, or was it Miller and Pedersen? I thought it was those two, but maybe Quinn was involved. I can't keep track in the soap opera dramas of other teams. Let me see what else we got here. Zachary, Ace, do you believe that Dawson Mercer can take the next step, or have you seen enough, in your opinion, to know that he's just going to be a middle six type player? No, I don't think anybody can know that. I mean, he's still, again, a young kid. While he's been around for some time now, he's still only 23 years old, entering his 5th season. He's turning 24 in like a month. Still super young, still plenty of time to develop some more. I cannot say that he's a lifelong middle six type player. I mean, if I had to bet on it, I would say that's probably the case. But if you're talking about middle six, I mean, I do think he could be a second line kind of guy, and potentially even a top line guy, depending. If he comes into camp bigger and stronger and really busts his ass, I do think he does have top six potential, and I hope he finds his way in there and sticks. I really do. I definitely cannot say that I've seen enough to think that he's just kind of set as a middle six. I just can't. Still super young. I'm pulling for the kid. I like him a lot. Louis, I mentioned Sprong to illustrate that Grits is not likely to be a top six player, at least not right away. Yeah. I mean, listen, anyone could be a bust. I don't think that's going to be the case, but you'd be dreaming if you didn't realize it not even a bust, but just not what you're expecting. Stickfix, I'm so ready for the new studio that has a disco ball on the ceiling for after wins and an LED pentagram built into the wall for emergency intermission red light lives. Oh, man. If Luke is unexperienced, then why are we paying him experienced money? Because it's a gamble, Woodson, because they're gambling that in 2 years from now, he would be a $12, $13 million defenseman, and they are now on a team-friendly deal. It's all gambling. It is all gambling. Devil have been waiting for the next Rangers fan to mention 94. Ava78, say what you want about Kovalchuk, but he was the only superstar we ever had. I mean, Ava, come on. The only superstar we ever had? You missed quite a few of them. We've had tons. But in terms of an offensive player in his prime, Kovalchuk is towards the top of the list, but we've had tons of other superstars. Tons of Hall of Famers have worn the black and red over the years, and I loved each and every one of their stops. But Kobe's towards the top of the list for me, and obviously, how could the great Jaromir Jagr not be at the top of the list as well? I freaked out when we got Jagr. Still spying that Timo Time bobblehead in the background. Tasha, Steve Alakette is such a doofus. I was like today years old when I found out he was one of the Kako over Hughes cheering when the Devils took Hughes over Kako. The in-game production team that played that during the Devils Rangers game, that was a beautiful touch. One of the greatest arena troll jobs I've seen in my 40 years on this earth. Roman Czechmonic says Mercer will give you give you a good 25 minutes of cardio over 2 games, not 25 goals. I don't think it's out of the question. He scored 27 in 22-23. He had 20 in 23-24, and he had 19 in last season. So, I mean, 25 goals is not – that'd be a beautiful stat line for him, and I don't think that's out of the question either. Jeter Toker, this team is lacking a sniper like Covey, man. And he was a monster truck of a man as well. Just a complete beast. I could only fantasize about a guy like Covey on the wing with Jack and Bratter. My God. You're talking about just beast mode. Khalil, do you have a Mercer and Bratt bobblehead from the Devils giving away ace? Yeah, I think I have every one they've ever given away in the history of the team. I'm pretty sure. There's a couple that I didn't want, like the stupid themed ones, which is super corny. Like there was I can't get involved in that. There was like a Danico Ghostbusters and like a Nico Star Wars. There was a couple weird ones where I'm like, why are you doing this? I don't like that forced nonsense. Just give me a regular standard bobblehead, please. I don't want Dano in a Ghostbusters uniform. Super bizarre. SST says old studio was the best. You cannot better it whatever you try. I mean, the most plausible thing is that it's probably going to look very, very similar. Dennis, what's up? Devils need forwards that can gain the zone. Seeing the Kane series is awful with no one being able to get in the zone by themselves. Obviously, a team with Jack Hughes. That is something that he is absolutely amazing at, entering the zone. And hopefully, man, he just got to stay healthy, man. Playoff Jack is fun to watch. Husky, if the Arnott photo doesn't go back up, it better be in the mail on the way to my house. Now, the Arnott photo is a fixture. That is a permanent fixture of one of the greatest moments in franchise history. Some more fighting in the comments. Woodson, I don't get the Timo hate, man. The Timo hate is wild to me. This is an interesting one. Favorite 3 horror movies of all time? I'm not a huge horror guy, if I'm being perfectly honest. I am not. I'm not a horror guy. Let me see. I mean, for me personally, even though it's not like a great movie, Scream would definitely be in my top 3. Scream's definitely in my top 3. Trying to think. I'm looking at a list here. They have Silence of the Lambs on here. Silence of the Lambs, I thought that was like a thriller. If Silence of the Lambs counts as a horror film, that's 100% in my top 3. So if that counts, which I don't think it does, but it's on this list, so I will say it counts. I would have never thought of that as a horror movie. But Scream, The Silence of the Lambs, and I'm going to have to think about a third one. Yager. Richard, Timo was a beast last season and once again was not as his natural position. And on power play 2, Woodson, he took up the slack when the big shoulders got hurt again. He gets under players' skin. Yeah, I don't get the hate on Timo. I just don't get it, man. I don't know how many points you people want. How many points do you want out of the guy for you not to like talk smack? Yeah, we had Yager, he's the ultimate superstar. Travelin says Brodeur isn't a superstar. Yeah. Yo, Holmes, Devils had plenty of superstars, at least 9 top 100 all-time players on the team, and at least 3 captain of Team USA. 9 top 100 players all-time. Hold on, let me see. I don't think we had 9, but let me give this a crack, Holmes. In no particular order, the great Martin Brodeur was on that top 100 list. Scotty Stevens, Scott Niedermayer, that's 3. Yager would be 4. Brendan Shanahan would be 5. I think Joe Nieuwendyk was on there. That would be 6. Was Gilmore on there? If Gilmore was on there, that's 7. I'm pretty sure Anderchuk was not on there. So I'm at 7 with Gilmore. I'm trying to think. Who am I missing? Who am I missing? Marty Stevens needs is 3. Yager 4. Shanny 5. Nieuwendyk 6. Gilmore 7. Who am I missing? Stickfix Kovalchuk is not the only legend to wear the horns and tail. Brendan Smith, Dave Steckel. Man, who taught you about David Steckel, Stickfigs? That's a hilarious, completely random mention. Woodson says if the software actually works this year, which I highly doubt, the studio will be an upgrade. Oh, boy. First of all, you people, I just can't even. I might just talk all the smack you want. You have no idea what goes into all this shit. Between the software, the hardware, there's something always going wrong. Shout out to anyone else who's involved in this. I kind of wish I never was involved, to be honest. It's a time suck, a great source of frustration when equipment malfunctions and makes me want to break stuff. Super annoying. Bobby, are they doing bobbleheads this year? I was annoyed they only did one last season. I mean, it hasn't been announced yet, but there's been at least one bobblehead every year for years and years now. So I'd have to imagine I don't know, that there'll be at least one this year. David says, Dano in a Ghostbusters uniform is awesome. Come on. I didn't think it was awesome. I did not think it was awesome. Justin says, Devils knocking out the Rangers in the playoffs. That never gets old. Absolutely not. Stickfigs, I too can never not love the old studio. A time where all the thumbnails used a plain red background and Ace was just on a stool 2 inches from the camera. Oh, no. Oh, no. You jinxed me. You see what happened? Woodson is a jinx. Hold on. Let me reset the situation. Unbelievable. I don't know, guys. That might be it. It might be a sign. Fitzy hacked us. I think it's back on. We got Fitzy hacked. I forget what I was saying. Woodson was talking smack about the equipment and then the camera crapped out. See? You see what happens? I don't ever remember being 2 inches from the camera, but maybe. I used to be super far back. There's been a lot of different kind of different modes of the whoa. There we go. Different phases of the studio. Pro Bowl says, Yo, Holmes, I brought up Elias because of the records he holds. Niedermeyer as well. Shanahan is more known as a Red Wing, though. Yeah, but he started and ended his career with the Devils. Cannot discredit that. Woodson, I like Timo and wanted him here. He's just wildly underperformed for me outside of the month of March. The March of Meyer, that's when he heats up. Hopefully he heats up in October. I agree that the scoring has been a little inconsistent, but last year he was so snake bitten for so long. It was super unlucky. Unluckiest streak I think I've ever seen by any player. He was getting scoring chances left and right and just couldn't buy a goal. Breakaways, tips in front, rebounds, just nothing was going in for him. And I feel like it lasted for a while. Holmes says Halloween, Scream, Friday the 13th, Part 6, Jason Lives. Yeah, Doug Gilmore, I did eventually say. Holmes says Silence of the Lambs is horror. Oh, if it is, then that's definitely in my list. Pro Bowl, you never saw Silence of the Lambs? It's an all-time classic. Taj. Yeah. Ace, just out of curiosity, what comment and by whom inspired the change in outro of I enjoy talking to most of you? I don't know, Tasha, that it was one particular person or comment per se, rather than I think maybe when, I don't know, I'm trying to think of when I changed it, and it was kind of subconscious, and then I just kind of stuck with it. But I think it was maybe at a time, it was probably sometime this summer, I think. And I think it was coming off the heels of maybe arguing with like multiple people at once, or just like smack talk from multiple people at once. And I was like, oh my God, like this is brutal. This is absolutely brutal. And yeah, I mean, that's, so I can't pinpoint it on a specific person or comment. I think it was just me kind of reacting to a multitude of people in ridiculous comments at once. And so I was like, you know what? I'm not going to lie anymore. I don't enjoy talking to all of them, just most of them. And here we are. Oh my God. Did you say this before it happened? He must have. Wow, I'm behind it. I got to scroll ahead. I'm waiting for the camera to overheat. I missed the restart screen. I hate you, Woodson. You literally willed that into existence. Wait, now I got to scroll down. Yeah. Ace's favorite horror films, 2012 Stanley Cup Finals, 2025 draft deadline, and 23-24 season. In terms of recent times, stick figs, I think you might have been 3 for 3 there. Those are amongst them. The game 5 of the playoffs last year would be there as well. Blowing a 3-goal lead. That's definitely up there. Did I forget Mo Gilney? Shame on me. Stasny. Maybe the bobblehead this year will be Juho Lamico. Yo, so Woodson, yeah. Yo, he must have said it like 2 minutes before it happened. My God. I would never forget Yager. I would never forget Yager, guys. I do have the worst luck with technology. Yo, Holmes, Stevens, Brodeur, Niedermeyer, Yager, Shanny, Joe Newendike, Gilmore, Andrechuk, Halsey. Andrechuk was on the list? I thought he was not. That was another fun pit stop. He scored his 500th with the Devils. As did Joe Newendike. Woodson is a dark wizard. I don't think it was one single doomsday comment that removed all from Ace, but I can certainly think of some candidates that contributed to the outro change more than others. Some of you may be among us right now. You might be in here at this very moment in time. I'm assuming that none of you would have any clue who I'm talking about. But Traveling Devils says Claude Lemieux. What is that in reference to? Love Claude Lemieux, but I'm not sure what that's about. Woodson can wish for Luke to sign. No, he wishes for the camera to overheat, and it does. Yeah, it seems like Woodson's wasting a talent here. Woodson, can you put this thing to good use instead of hexing me and my camera? Woodson, Ace, do your own version of Chico Eats when you go to home games. I think I kind of do that. But like, you know, if I'm in one of the lounges, like I do show clips, but do people want to see like in depth? I did think about doing more stuff on the arena concourse this year. I'm going to look into that. I'm sure every year the food seems to change. And so maybe I will do some sort of food stuff review or searching for food on the concourse this season. There probably will be some new stuff out there. So I'm sure a lot of people will be interested in seeing what the new offerings are. Richard, 96 lost to Ottawa, which was the last regular season game of the year and caused us to not make the playoffs after winning the cup the season before. And yeah, Kevin Weeks came in the playoffs and just destroyed us. What a dominant performance by him. Ace, what do you have for cable Devils games? I live in New Jersey, and I was cordless before with all the streaming shit, but it was kind of annoying, and the delay really killed me. So I am unfortunately back with Verizon Fios, so that some of you folks local can't ruin it for me in the chat. Last year, there was so many times where with the streaming stuff, it seemed to be like 10 to 20 seconds behind, and people in the chat would be like, goal. And I was like, and then I'd watch the play on it, and then they would score. So a lot of times when people were in the post-game chat live during the game, I wouldn't be in there often because the streaming services are so far behind. I just couldn't deal with it. Woodson says, I predict the future and we will win the cup in 2035. Which is there any guys from the current roster still here in a decade, Woodson, with that prediction? Who still remains here? I'm super curious to know. I'm super curious to know who's still here. Zebra Games, what's going on? Studio looking better. No, it looks like crap. It's just a pile of stuff. There's so much crap that you guys can't see, like on the sides and behind me. But by the regular season opener, I will have this thing sorted one way or another, and I'll probably just end up looking very similar. Yo, Holmes says the food at the arena really kind of sucks, not going to lie. Yeah, it does. It's unfortunate. I think Devils fans deserve better, but what are you going to do? Maybe they have some new interesting stuff for this season. The preseason is always like very sketchy, in my opinion. Like there's a lot of stands not open and everything's like, it's like a skeleton crew. Curious to see what the variety is going to be this year, though. Woodson, you always cherry pick eating the same things. I mean, in the lounges for the most, I mean, there's only so much stuff, right? I mean, I'm obviously going to crush burgers, carving station, tenders, fries, you know, the staples. I'm not a sushi guy, but, you know, some of my friends that I went to games with, they're big into the sushi and they tee off on the sushi station there. Not for me, but Jason says, I love Biz. He's great for hockey. Yeah, Biz is awesome. I've liked Biz from day one. Great hockey personality. And I did meet him and talk to him briefly at the what the hell did they call that thing? They had like a fan expo thing for Four Nations. And I talked to him. Amaga says, Islanders are a snooze fest, but UBS has 100 times better food than The Rock. It sucks. Oh, I went to UBS for the first time last year. Shout out to my boy, Pat. Pat hooking your boy up and inviting me to the Ovechkin record-breaking game with his family. What a time we had at UBS, and seeing what that place was like in terms of amenities and setup and food and everything compared to the Rock, it's night and day, man. It's not even close. For those that haven't been there, I want to go to a Devils game there very badly, but the commute, drive, however you get there, is absolutely brutal, and it takes forever. And so I do want to go. Actually, let me check that real quick. I would love to see the Devils play there, but getting there and getting home is just such a friggin' nightmare that I don't know that it's worth it to me. It's just a huge pain in the ass. And getting to the Coliseum back in the day was a pain in the ass too, but I don't think it's as bad as UBS. And I've seen the Devils play at their old arena, the Coliseum, Nassau Coliseum. I saw the Devils there plenty of times. Oh, wow. December 23rd, Tuesday, is the first Devils game at the Islanders. Tuesday, 12/23. Tasha said, the food is awful. You spend as much on the food as tickets. It's pretty bad. Yeah. I haven't really been in the arena concourse food game in a minute. Woodson says, Salayev, Yegorov, Mercer, Nemitz, Nico will be there in 2035. Okay. So basically 3 main pieces and 2 futures. Thanks, Michael. Hit the like for your boy. One time. Hit the like for your boy. I did pin a comment in the chat. Follow me on X and Instagram. I'm trying to get those things kind of moving as well. I'm going to start doing more stuff on both of those, even though I don't love, you guys know I don't love X, but it is a useful tool. It is, one of the main things online. And so, yeah, I'm going to start doing more stuff on there. So follow me on those things. The link's at the top of the chat. Faye says, I wouldn't be surprised if all other 31 arenas have better food than the Devils. They're probably towards the bottom for sure. Tasha, Ace, the cheaper lounge, whatever it's called, what's the food in that one like? Well, there's a bunch of lounges now, but I would say like the old Fire and Ice, for those that were familiar with the Fire and Ice, opposite sides, center ice. One is like the Hyundai Club, and I forget what the other one's called now. They're all very similar, except sometimes in those, like, you don't have the carving station or the sushi. But for the most part, it's pretty similar overall. John Wooden says, I want to see a veggie review. Oh, boy. Devil Heaven 77. Bud Ice was good back in the day. Beware of the Penguins. Oh, man, I remember those commercials. How's your Bud Ice? Doobie, doobie, doo. Travelin says, Panthers Arena's food is garbage, John. Okay. Yeah, Tasha, UBS is great. The Bud Ice Penguin. Amagi, I had the Islanders chicken sandwich from Shaq's place in UBS, and it was amazing. Shareable nachos, pork belly sandwich, milkshakes. Everything looks amazing at UBS. I bought my friend a cocktail and a souvenir Islanders glass, and he really loved it too. They give you like 100% more ice cream for the same price too. Oh, man. Yo, Holmes says Chick-fil-A in Carolina was too sweet. December 23rd is a great date for a game. Tasha, I can't even hear about these other arenas' foods. I'm trying to remember. When I went on the West Coast, I can't remember what I ate. Like 5 years ago, I went to and it was coincidentally when the Devils sucked. I went to the West Coast and I saw the Devils play. It was, I'm trying to think of the order of the cities, but I'm probably going to butcher it. But it was Anaheim Ducks, San Jose Sharks, Los Angeles Kings, and the Vegas Golden Knights. I saw 4 games. It was pretty awesome. It was a great time. I think they won 1 game maybe out of all 4. It was during the PK Subban era. Woodson says the Rock minus the food is enjoyable. M. Sharp, I like hitting a game up around the holidays. Yeah, games around the holidays are awesome. Richard, Ace, my mom fell 3 days short of her 100th birthday. We were all good. Put her number 100 jersey under glass. She would say the Devils are nice boys, but Keefe is eating too much pasta. My mom fell 3 days. Oh, man, I'm sorry to hear that, Richard. Nearly 3 days short of 100, man. Wow. That's something. I'm really sorry to hear that. Woodson said, I'd rather starve than pay $20 for a wrinkled wiener and Coke. Liquid. We're losing. We lost connection. We've lost connection. Liquid diet at hockey games. All right, I'm going to fire this up one more time and then call it a day. It's a sign. I got stuff to do. I got stuff to do, guys. I wonder. Dude, it's super hot under these lights, too. I'm pretty hot. It's pretty hot in here. Whoa. All right. Liquid diet at hockey games. What's the fire and ice go for today? I think it depends. The prices are all over the place. They use these algorithms now to reprice tickets in real time. And so every game is different. There is no like standard. Amagi, Wells Fargo is awesome as well from the decor to the food. MSG has the amazing prime rib steak sandwich. The Rock needs to step up at least somewhat. Tasha, when I'm older, I'm going to try to go to as many different arenas as possible. Unfortunately, the rest of the family is not as Devils enthused as I am. Are you young, Tasha? I will say one of my favorite, I don't know if you want to call it amenities or functions of being an adult, was to be able to do cool shit that I wanted to do that I couldn't necessarily do when I was a kid. And go to random games and stuff was definitely part of that for me. SSD says, why does every live come down to food? Are you starving out there all the time? I didn't know that every live came down to food. Traveling, it's something we call doom over. SST Woodson says, our food is better than our hockey. Ava, this season's conference finals prediction, Vegas, Dallas, Florida Devils. I mean, that would be an amazing Final Four. Wow. That really would. That really would. Faces webcam 2, ace 0. Yeah, it's true. It's true, guys. It's really true. Over under 2 overheats for the next live. You got the over? Maybe. Faye wants to know. All right, guys. That's it. I'm done. I'm hot. I'm tired. I got stuff to do. Tomorrow's the day. Your New Jersey Devils report to training camp. Hopefully the Luke contract is announced earlier in the season. Early in the day, rather, and Luke is there. But we don't know. We will stay tuned for as the Luke contract negotiations world turns. Hopefully he misses no time. If this continues to go on, it'll be disappointing. Hopefully we don't see a holdout. But that's it, guys. I'll be back soon. Lots of stuff in the works. Camp's opened. We are 5 days away from preseason puck drop at the Rock against the Rangers. Super pumped. And I'm excited. No, I know these lights are crazy. I might have to be a permanent t-shirt. Oh, you don't know me, Ace. We got to work on upping your production value. I'm trying, man. It's hard out here. It's hard out here. Oh, you don't know me. It's hard. All right, guys, that's it. I'm out. Be back soon. Thank you all for watching. I love you all. Like, comment, subscribe, and all that jazz. Until next time, friends, let's go Devils.